Hello, sir. How can I help you today?
I am coming in to play tennis game.
Okay, cool. Can I get your Vex pass real quick?
I don't have Vex.
Why not?
I don't want to tell you. This is my personal freedom.
Well, then you're not allowed in the country, mate. I'm not going to let you in. You can't go play tennis in Australia and be some sort of super spreader here.
I am Novak Djokovic, and I am here to play Australian Open.
Novak Djokovic, huh? More like...
He has exemption.
I have exemption.
Novak Djokovic, right? Let me check it out. It's more like Novax Djokovic, which means you're a joke for even trying to get into our country. So I'm going to have to send you home. You're not even going to be able to walk out. You're not going to play any tennis. No rackets, no bowls, no nothing. Get on your plane. You're out of here.
No balls and no rackets. I'm going to make a racket about this in my country, Serbia.
Oh, the accent.
Turn in your club, sir.
It's not a club, it's a racket.
That is, wow.
No touchdowns for you today.
Wow, no touchdowns. Yeah. Guys, welcome to Will and Amala Live. I don't know if you can tell who Will was supposed to be with that accent, but he's supposed to be Novak Djokovic.
Joseph Stalin.
Joseph Stalin. Tennis is communism.
He's Novak Djokovic over here.
Yep.
Which that's the story we're going to talk about today. A tennis player sent away from Australia for not being vaccinated. We're also going to be talking about teachers who don't want to go back to school in Chicago because of the Omicron variant. Plus, Mayo Clinic fired not 100, not 200, 700 employees for not being vaccinated. Outside of vax stuff, we're talking about Pope Francis and his plea for you to go out there, get married, and make some babies. Plus, is Harry Potter anti-Semitic? Never thought that sentence would be coming out of my mouth, but Jon Stewart has made quite a vivid accusation of J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. Plus, did Glee start the woke epidemic here in America? We have many other stories in groups with that, but those are the major ones. Let's get into story number one. If you are a kid in Chicago right now, are you going to public school? Maybe, maybe not. Here's the story out of New York Times. Public schools in Chicago close as the teachers union say classroom conditions are unsafe. Essentially, what's happened is the teachers unions have band together in Chicago because of the Omicron variant. They're saying that it is unsafe for them to be teaching in the classroom. They advocated for remote teaching and virtual classes for their students. And instead of doing that, they just said, you know what, we're going to cancel classes for Wednesday. The teachers union is saying that the conditions within their classrooms are unsafe due to this new variant of COVID, and they don't want to show up to teach the kids.
It's a religion. It truly is a religion. It's the same. I reported this on my Substack. You guys can follow me on Substack on my blog for a lot of the things that can't make it on the show or social media, the willwitt.substack.com. But I talked about how there was a 17-year-old who was jabbed by their teacher at the teacher's house. As a 17-year-old kid. Somehow this teacher, who's not a medical professional, got the vaccine and injected this boy with it without the parent's knowledge or consent.
Insane.
I mean, the only reason why you do this is because you think that it is a religion. That's the only way that you do that. I mean, of course the parents are going to find out. Of course the parents in LA, the kids who are getting vaccinated by by the teachers and getting free pizza, like, of course the parents are going to find out. But when this becomes your religion, then you will do it by any means necessary.
Yeah, and we spoke yesterday about the really substantial impact that this sort of thinking has on children. We know that children are not really susceptible to severe reactions or death when it comes to COVID. And in particular, in this region, in the city of Chicago, 90% of the teachers and people in education are already vaccinated, yet they're still running with the narrative that they can't show up to teach these children. And what was the title of the article? No Way to Grow Up, the article that we went over yesterday, also out of New York Times. We are slighting children. We are sacrificing their health and their well-being for the sake of adults and this life that they want to preserve that is not real living. And it's something that they shouldn't be fearful of. They shouldn't be fearful to be in the classroom. But because we have these teachers unions who have just this over expanded voice when it comes to education, they get to shut down whether or not your kid gets to go to class the next day.
Yeah, no, and these kids need education now more than ever, especially in Chicago, which is a place that definitely needs education more than a lot of other cities. These big urban cities need education more than ever. But, could be a silver lining if they don't have to go to school with these leftist teachers.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll learn more outside of the school. There could be a silver lining to this, like there usually is. But, the fact that they're so scared, all you literally have to do is go to the CDC website and look up how many young people have died from COVID. Mm-hmm. And it is unimaginable how low those numbers are. There's a statistical anomaly. And the fact that they want to shut down the schools because of this it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, and let's assume that, it is really bad for children. What they found in the studies is that schools are not even transmitting COVID at the same rate as teachers and adults are getting it outside of the classroom. So there's really no excuse for these teachers who say they don't want to return back to the classroom to teach these children. And you have to wonder not only what it's going to be like for the kids who are missing out on valuable, forming education for their young minds, but also the parents who, have to work during this time and don't have money for childcare. All of a sudden, you are at the whims of the teachers' unions who get to decide whether or not you have a place to put your child for 7 to 8 hours a day so that you can work and provide for them. Now, the city of Chicago gets to go, no school. And you have to be home with your kid when you have a full-time job and you have to provide for them. What does that mean?
Well, it just makes it worse for everyone. Every single person loses in this situation.
Yes.
There are no winners.
Got to add this stat here real quick. This is Barry Weiss tweeting the other day. She said, last week CDC reported that weekly deaths in people aged 18 to 29 has decreased to 0 from 1 in 5 million the week prior. Yeah. Right. So the risk to students that we're talking about has gone from 1 in 5 million,
right,
which is already like way lower than car accidents or anything else, to literally 0.
But shut down the schools.
What is the answer to this? These people, at least in this article in the New York Times, it doesn't seem like they're offering any sort of answer. They're offering to go remote learning, but remote learning obviously isn't an answer, which they have proven in many different studies that it's bad for kids. So is there any other answer, or are these teachers just lazy and want to sit on their butt and not have to go actually do their jobs? Because that's what it seems like.
It does sort of seem like that because there's no evidence to prove that they are at increased risk by showing up for school, and to do this to young children and be in this position as an adult and still withhold education from these children is a really detrimental thing to do to a young person. And I hope this doesn't continue. Somebody needs to, talk to these teachers unions and say, this is not okay. You don't get to band together to shut down my child's education.
I know. The teachers union is an evil entity.
It is becoming that. It truly is. And where maybe it wasn't at first, but this is
the difference between private sector unions and public unions. Mm-hmm. These are two different things. The teachers union is a force for evil because essentially it's a monopoly over the teaching industry. It's them coming and saying that we have total control over your kids on what they learn and that you don't really have a choice on it because it's your tax dollars and then you don't have a choice. Yep. So yeah, it's an evil entity. It's something that is totally unnecessary.
Yeah, and I'm surprised because the reaction and the pushback that they're getting, this teachers union, is actually from Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who is speaking out against them and saying you are not allowed to do this, and that's not something I would typically hear from her. And yeah, the teachers union.
She's a radical.
Yeah, she is. So the fact that Lori Lightfoot is saying no, you don't get to dictate whether or not these children get taught is a really major thing. And the teachers unions, we've had many a run-in with the teachers unions. They are openly and publicly supporting critical race theory and gender theory in schools, which we know is going to harm children in the long run. And now they're doing this in Chicago. So tisk, tisk, tisk from me.
Right. No, the teachers unions are terrible. They really are. You can't fire teachers that are within the union. It's so difficult to. They'll send them to rubber rooms, which is essentially places where, since you can't fire the teachers who work in the union, you send them to these rooms where they're still getting paid, but they're not actually working at a school. They're terrible, terrible entities. Yeah. They should be disbanded, just like the public schools.
So, Will with the abolish the public schools.
Always.
I don't know when we're going to get into this debate live on air, but one of these days we're going to get into, do we abolish the public schools debate? And I will
we've done that like 5 times.
I know, but we really need to just
because it's
put
never
it to
really
rest.
a debate.
I wish we would just put it to rest.
It's never going to be put to rest.
No, it's not.
Until you come over to my side, it's not going to.
Which will not happen because, Will will die on that hill, as he says.
From my point of view, the Jedi are the traitor.
Listen, no, Amala, you're much smarter than me. But I think of it like the bell curve, and it's like, the abolish public schools is like the really dumb people. and then the really smart people also say abolish the police. But then like the people in the middle are like, most people are like, oh, we need this, and I'm on the dumb side, trying to say like, like abolish it because
fair enough.
I feel like I'm getting a glimpse into Will Witt's worldview and view of himself.
Yeah,
you are.
This is really,
Oh, I'm at the back of the bell curve.
Yeah.
So
good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to try to think of a transition to segue into this next story.
Speaking of curving to news stories.
Speaking of heading back to places, Novak Djokovic is heading back to where he came from because Australia is kicking him out. So for those of you who don't know, tennis player Novak Djokovic tried to enter Australia to play a tennis match. How did you describe him, Taylor? He's the best tennis player in the world?
I mean, I'm loath to admit that because I'm a Roger Federer fan, but yeah, he is. Yeah, he's tied with Roger Federer and Nadal for the most Grand Slam tournaments. They all have 20, but he's the youngest and going to definitely break the record, and was probably going to do it at this Australian Open, but maybe not now. Right,
not now, because here's the sequence of events here. On Tuesday, the Australian Open announced that Djokovic was going to be able to play. He got a medical exemption, therefore he could enter the country and play his tennis matches. But upon arrival to Australia, he was detained, told that they needed to be evaluated by Australian doctors to go through with this medical exemption, and the exemption, as of just a few hours ago, it's been announced, has been rejected. So he's been detained, and he will be on the first flight out of Melbourne as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is all pretty ridiculous because Australia has one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, and their cases are absolutely skyrocketing when it comes to Omicron and all of that. Yet they won't let him come in when he's not even going to be around people, basically. He's going to be on a tennis court, away from people. Like, what do they expect this guy to do? I mean, their cases are already rising regardless, and that is with a very highly vaccinated population. It is a religion. This is a religion, because a religion like this means that you don't have to look at any facts or anything like that. It's just like, here are our gods. It's like pagan god. It's like Greek mythology. Them looking at some like ridiculous thing and saying, hey, this is the truth and we don't need to have anything backing it up. We're just going to listen to what these gods say. Dr. Fauci, the CNN, these are these people's gods, and they just listen to them and don't do anything else about it.
Yeah, I just wish there was something, some nuance taken into account when it comes to people like this. He's young. He is extremely healthy, one of the top-ranking athletes in the world. What makes you think that he is placing risk upon himself or upon anybody else by entering your country, playing his sport, and then leaving? And it does sort of just seem like, a power play here to show this applies to everybody. We're not making any exceptions. And again, if that's your law and that's what you're enforcing, I mean, would it be better if they went famous person, great sports player, let's make an exception for him? Probably not. I think they'd see a lot of uproar there. So I think, if anything, this is an effort to sort of stay in line with the laws that they've put in place so far and not ruffle any feathers. But it's not okay. He's a perfectly healthy young man who's coming to play his sport. Even if he got there, contracted COVID, and then left, he would be fine.
Well, they're in a rock and a hard place, because if they don't let him into the country, then we all look at Australia and say, well, you're stupid. He's fine. And if they do let him in, then we're like, well, you obviously don't believe in your stuff because you just let him in. So maybe you guys shouldn't do stupid stuff in the first place, and then you wouldn't look so bad.
This is what's going to be happening everywhere, though. People are being caught in these lies, and they're having to just do all kinds of mental gymnastics to like it's heads I win, tails you lose. Like they're stuck.
Right. No, you just
and it's good to see it.
Losing. It is good to see.
But what we can't do is let them get away with it and just be like, see, we're being consistent in our rules and all this is working, and then it's really because we, there's all these things are just working so great and we've been very consistent and that's why we have such a great situation. It's like, you can't let them get away with these lies and gaslight you.
Yeah, I think this is going to call attention to a lot, because it's not only going to be the people of Australia who who are entertained by this Australian Open, but it's going to be people around the world who are watching this happen and seeing sort of the chink in the armor when it comes to the COVID information that we have right now. And I think the Omicron variant and this spreading of this is going to be shining a light on all the inaccuracies, all the logical fallacies, and all the lack of reason that have surrounded the way that we treat COVID-19 now.
I mean, the people of Serbia I mean, that's where Novak Djokovic is from. Is it going to be some sort of uprising there with people mad? I mean, that's like their guy.
Yep.
You know, that's like their guy in their country who represents Serbia all across the world, participating in this event. So I think, I don't know, I guess we'll see more news coming out from there, but I'm sure they're going to be very mad, especially because a lot of the countries in Eastern Europe, I mean, they don't care really much for COVID at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the Prime Minister of Romania yesterday had some comments about COVID. It's just... To think that they are canceling their top athlete basically from their country going and participating because of this is, I think that people are going to have a lot of opinions on it.
Yes, they will. I think this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers, and we'll see how the story plays out. There'll definitely be, I'm sure, a press conference from Novak here shortly that we'll get to listen to and see what his thoughts are. And last bit of COVID news here. Mayo Clinic, you know Mayo Clinic, a massive medical research center and treatment facility across the United States. Mayo Clinic has fired 700 unvaccinated employees, which is about 1% of its workforce. Mayo Clinic hit the deadline for their vaccinations for employees, and these 700 employees who chose not to get vaccinated have now been fired. And what it points out is an interesting piece of rhetoric for me. It is what I recall is when this pandemic first broke in March, that those people were essential workers. How dare you say anything about nurses, doctors, medical professionals? They are essential. They are our frontline workers. Look at them working with no guard against this virus tirelessly to help Americans all over the country. But now that those same medical professionals are going, hey, you know, I want a choice when it comes to the medical treatment that I received. Just like it was my choice to work during this pandemic, to put myself at risk, as you would have said 2 years ago. But now I don't have the choice. Now I get fired for making medical decisions.
Well, it goes to show just how the discipline of medicine is basically all but lost when it comes to credibility. I mean, the Lancet faked studies. The Lancet faked studies on HCQ when it came down to it about what was actually going on with it. Fake studies. The New England Journal of Medicine, I mean, it's a total whack job in so many ways now, too. All of these respected medical journals that used to be heralded as the greatest thing ever for scientific research are now, I mean, it's full of quacks now who just want to get their agenda across. When it comes to the people, there was that hospital, I forget what state it was in, but it was a hospital where they fired all these people for getting vaccinated, and then the hospital shut down because they didn't have enough people. Yep. It's like you did that to yourself. You shot yourself in the foot, and now people aren't going to get the care that they need because you had this religion.
Yep.
Again, it's all about the religion. This is what happens when you brainwash people into believing all of this stuff at face value and not having to do any sort of research whatsoever.
Yeah, and it points out another fatal flaw when it comes to wokeism and this sort of thinking, especially as it relates to COVID, is you're the victim for now. Like, you know, really soak it in. Soak it in 2 years ago, nurses and doctors, that you were the victim, that you were the ones who are working hard throughout this pandemic. People are sending you gifts, cheering you on, how brave you are. And then once the narrative shifts, once we get a different storyline, you're no longer the victim. We move on to someone else. And now the victim is the vaccinated people who have to deal with all these unvaccinated bigots and misogynists, as Justin Trudeau would say. These are the new victims. So we push aside the nurses, we push aside the doctors, we push aside the medical professionals who want to continue to do their jobs, continue to put themselves at risk, as you would have said 2 years ago. We fire those people.
Right, and as we talked about before the show, I mean, anecdotally, hospitals that I know of, talking to people, that you have to be vaccinated to work at some of these hospitals. Yet, they have the most amount of people getting sick from COVID now than when there was no vaccine, which is wild. And then also, people can just say, like, if you get the shot and then you say, oh, I have a medical condition with the shot or whatever, even if you're lying or you're telling the truth, you get 5 days off of work. So people are taking up to 15 days off of work and getting potentially sick, taking off more days. I mean, the medical profession is just, it's in shambles because none of it makes any sense. Yeah. All of it's full of lies and all of it's full of people taking advantage of the system.
You're right. I'm both of us were going to go into medicine in some form. You in animals, but yes. Me with humans. And I'm so glad that I avoided that route because the medical profession has really started to deteriorate in the past 3 years even. So
it could have helped me out. The CEO of Pfizer is a veterinarian.
There you go.
I could have been the CEO of Pfizer. Who needs to know anything about drugs? I just need to know how to stitch a cat back together.
Right. Yeah. What a good time that would have been. Now we're going to move on from COVID news. I know you guys are tired of hearing it, and we're tired of talking about it for the most part. The Pope Francis has a message to everybody out there. Have more children. Here's what he says. We see that people do not want to have children or just want to know more. And many couples do not have children because they do not want to, or they just have one, but they have 2 dogs, 2 cats. Yes, dogs and cats take the place of children, the Pope said. Yes, it's funny, I understand, but it is the reality. And this denial of fatherhood or motherhood diminishes us. It takes away our humanity. And in this way, civilization becomes aged and without humanity because it loses the richness of fatherhood and motherhood. And our homeland suffers as it does not have children. Big statement there. I think it's pretty clear to see that there has been sort of a cultural shift away from having children or having children far later and far fewer. And the sort of dog mom, cat mom culture has risen a lot. And as far as it being conducive to happiness, it is hard to say, although we've seen studies that show that women that get older and choose not to have children and create, that nuclear family unit that we've been so used to throughout history are relatively unhappier in their lives. And I think the same can be said for men.
Yeah, well, Pope Francis is like the most hot and cold guy ever. He says something one day where I'm like, I definitely agree with you. And then he'll say something else the next day. And I'm like, this is the worst thing you've ever said in your entire life. It's all the time. It's something good and then something bad.
Well, that's all people, isn't it?
No, it's not all people. I mean, this is someone who's like a direct leader who should be saying biblical truth and saying the right things as the head of the Catholic Church, essentially. He should be saying the right things. But so many of these bishops and all sorts of people do not say the right thing. Anyway, about what he said, it would be a lot easier if people could, like if they wanted to have children, it'd be a lot easier if Rome didn't just shut down for people that you can't go anywhere without a vaccine. How are people supposed to go and meet each other? Unvaccinated people in Italy, right? Like, there's so many problems. It's like, yes, that is true, but we need to get to the root of the issue first. Sure. Why don't people want to have children?
Yep.
Why is it that people aren't going to go out to a bar or to a church and find someone who they can join up with and love? Why don't they want to do that, right? Because there's a reason behind that. It's not that just people just want to go have dogs with their, have dogs, but adopt dogs with the person they're with. It's what are the things that are making them that they don't want to have children? Yeah,
you hear that a lot here at least when I speak to other young women like myself. I would have children, but expensive. I would have children, but the environment. I would have children, but men is a common thing. So there's definitely cultural externalities that are affecting the way that people think. And I think the sort of social girl boss, a girl boss too close to the sun narrative is definitely playing a part in that. The pushing of women into certain career roles that are not really biologically incentivized for women is playing a role in that too. But also you hear a lot of young people saying, how could I possibly provide for a young person? And we see the stats around the likelihood of people buying houses within the next 10, 20 years being just crazy to even look at, even from our perspective. And I don't blame people necessarily for thinking, I can't take care of a kid right now.
Well, it's really tough. There are a lot of great women and a lot of great men out there. Will Amala's a great woman. Taylor's a great man. I mean, there are for sure great people out there who are not totally affected by this sick society. But when you look at it as a whole, I mean, why would a company like OnlyFans make $1.2 billion in 2020 if it wasn't because we live in a sick society where men feel lonelier than ever? And just to have someone tell them, like, going on OnlyFans and having this person be your fake virtual girlfriend makes them feel like they have someone in their lives is enough to show, like, we live in a bad society when that is happening. And when women choose to not go for traditional jobs or go for traditional men and go work on OnlyFans, then it's like, yeah, you have a bad society. I mean, people are going and working at these types of professions and just making a system that is even worse. So something like not having children and something like making accounts on OnlyFans and being a man who goes and simps for people on these websites, those aren't the causers of the problem. The problems are deeper than that. That we have made a generation of men and women who feel incredibly lonely and who feel like the things that they don't have any meaning in their lives. So then they go towards these things. It's like Freud talked about, like, the Madonna whore complex. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's essentially like men cannot value real women. they find real women out there, but they can't desire them sexually. All they can desire is degenerate, nasty women, because you have this porn and these OnlyFans and the society that gives them no meaning. So then men can't find real relationships, and then men don't want to be in relationships with women who are on OnlyFans because they think it's gross. So it's like
it's never ending.
It's never ending. We are in such a bad cycle for people. You know, for young people in this country, where they are, and just around the world, is a Western problem, that they are not in a good place psychologically to even be prepared for relationships, not let alone have children, not even for relationships.
Yeah.
So these are deeper problems than just saying, oh, people want to have dogs.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I have a dog. I love my dog, right? It's like
the dog is a
great thing.
substitute for that need to nurture something.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but again, it's like deeper than that. There's like so much more that goes into it, and I wish that the Pope would have talked about more with it, about like how our generation lacks meaning, how they don't have God in their lives, right? I mean, he's the Pope, for crying out loud. He should be saying, like, people aren't reading the Bible. He should be saying people are turning away from God, or having this easy Christianity, or any of these kind of things, or Catholicism. He should be talking about that. But instead, he's just talking about dogs. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it. I just want him to do more.
Yeah, it's certainly a multifaceted issue that we could sit here for probably 5 or 6 hours and try to talk through all the different reasons that have led to what we're dealing with right now. And instant gratification is another one of those things. It's just so easy. Just so easy to be gratified now.
Right. No, if you can go on OnlyFans and have a woman tell you that, you know, you're her virtual boyfriend, why would I go and get a real girlfriend? You know, it doesn't make any sense. If you can pay $5 for a tip and just have them say, "Oh yeah, you're my simp," like, and show you their boobs, that's what you're gonna do.
And it's the same thing of like, I can go on a date with somebody, but then I know that in the computer in my pocket, I have, you know, 50 other men or 50 other women that I can go and swipe through and see, is this one the right one? Is there something better? Is there someone hotter? Is there someone funnier? And it's not like you have to go out to seek out those people anymore, or have some sort of meet cute or serendipitous moment where you meet that person. It's in your pocket. So people have this need to go, okay, well, why should I settle down here when I'm young? I can have kids in my late 30s instead, and I can just go through this whole gamut of men or women to see what I want and be sort of self-indulgent in that way.
Let me say something. This might be a little controversial, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway. But, you know, I'm going to say it. I say controversial things regardless. I think that this is all according to plan, and I think that China has done a lot of this to us. I think especially when it comes to TikTok, and if you go on Chinese TikTok and you look at the things that are posted on there, it's like videos of people working. It is anti-degeneracy. It is people doing like bold and noble things. It's actually it's very weird, like the way that their TikTok is versus American TikTok is girls shaking their butts and very quick sound bites of stupid stuff. Right? And it seems like this type of degenerate behavior that has made men in a lot of ways especially feel alone and have these weird sexual desires for things is in part caused by these social media platforms, especially TikTok being instituted in this way. It's like the way that China has influenced us through TikTok has made us weak, and they know it, because if they don't allow that type of degeneracy in their country on their TikTok, why is it fine on ours?
I don't think that's conspiratorial at all. I think that seems very, very, very reasonable to see, and we see that in the same way that, you know, we talk about effeminate men and men who are very, very feminine in this country, and it's a growing problem. Testosterone rates are decreasing at an alarming rate. And at the very same time, while the CCP is sort of connected to all these campaigns for radical feminism and against toxic masculinity in America, they're doing the exact opposite in their country, where they are sort of training this new generation of masculine men and just sort of trying to... what's the word for it? Trying to enhance masculinity in their own country while we are doing the exact opposite here.
You should see the ads of propaganda they have for their military.
Oh, I know.
I mean, they're ridiculous.
Ours is like, join the U.S. military because we represent men, women, LGBTQ+. Any different identity you have, join the U.S. military. And here's an honorary rainbow flag. And then China's like, men join the military and defend this country, defend your nation. And like, we love China.
Ni hao.
Yeah.
Come on.
Ni hao, is that the only Mandarin word you knew?
Shay shay.
Wow. That's really
thank
good.
you.
Yeah. And it's the same can be said for like Russian military ads. It's so different from what we're seeing here.
Right.
So different.
Right.
But yeah, just amazing.
We're definitely infiltrated. I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's
in so
by
many
design.
ways.
It's by design, so much of it.
Yeah.
Not everything, but
here's
there's a lot
a
of
thought, like, we do talk about these different forces that are acting on us, like China or these things that we're seeing in the culture from Hollywood that are trying to change us. Back in the day, we sort of had a culture that had these values and these social norms and things that tied us together, where the gravity, it was almost like an inoculation against what would otherwise knock us off our rocker and make us these simps, or these people that are, like brainless, have short attention spans, are ruined and short-sighted, not wise, don't value marriage, don't have a vision for your life, don't have meaning, etc. Our culture the gravity of it used to sort of be we would be pulled toward things that are meaningful, men taking responsibility, going out there, providing for your family, women wanting to have a family and being married and doing these type of things. And now it's been a lot of confluence of things, but it's all these things we're vulnerable to, China's seizing on the opportunity through things like TikTok. But what I think that on the deeper level is, like, we've become vulnerable because we sort of lost our soul as a country and lost our foundational values and gotten away from that. And so now we're trying to find things to replace that with. And as we get this radical feminism stuff and the CRT and all this wokeism, and China is now working on us, and it's just we're vulnerable to all of it, and people are falling for it, and that's why depression, suicide rates, and all these things are happening. And our country, I think so many of the problems are just traced back to just we've lost our soul.
Yeah, we've lost what it means to be an individual. So now we have a whole sect of our society saying, well, what it means to be an individual is purely attached to your identity, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be transgender, what it means to be black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. That's what individuality means. And then on the other side, we have people saying, no, that's not what individuality means, but we're spending all of our time trying to fight the side that is trying to reduce us down to that. So of course we're lost. And of course all these things, not having children and being confused about your gender and being confused about race and how that plays a role, is going to just infiltrate and take over the entire conversation, when we really should be trying to find meaning in who we are as individuals.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to your point, but you do have to look at, like, the pandemic. Like, China created this, okay? This is because of China. And they made those fake videos back in, what was it, December or January of last year? December of 2019, January 2020, of, like, dudes in China falling down on the street and, like, having their heads explode, right? They had those, like, fake videos to make us think, like, oh, this was the worst thing that's ever happened. And it's like they pushed this on us. The only reason why something like OnlyFans was able to make so much money is because of the pandemic. Again, like, all of this stuff, despite America losing its soul in a lot of different ways, but I bet you could go, in 10 years ago, they had cam girl sites and stuff like that, and they didn't take off like OnlyFans did, but OnlyFans blew up because of just how bad it had gotten with the loneliness. It's like, in just the past 3-4 years, it's gotten way worse.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It's
terrifying. Remember when they went through this small stint of, we're no longer going to sell sexual stuff, and then the next day they're like, actually, JK. Just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
Just kidding, guys.
It's
we want our billions of dollars back.
And they tell girls, they're like, oh, you can. And this is the bad part too. Is like, you go to the mainstream. You got Bella Thorne. That's her name, right?
Bella Thorne. Yep.
And she went on OnlyFans and she made like $1 million
in like a day.
In a day. Off of OnlyFans.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's basically like Twitter, but for just naked photos, basically.
Yeah, it is.
And that they tell people, the society tells people, like, oh, you don't need a job, you can just go on OnlyFans, and that's empowering.
But they frame it as empowering.
Yeah,
that's empowering in the gig economy. Like, you can just do this, and if you're a man, just go be an Uber driver because you're your own boss, and if you're a woman, just go on OnlyFans, and then as a man, spend your little amount of money that you have on these e-thoughts, and it's like, well, now you have a completely screwed up society because of this.
Yep.
It's more forms of Soma.
Yeah, literally, it is more for
Brave New World.
It goes back to Brave New World all the time. It's so accurate.
All of them. Psychological drugs to keep you satiated in this bubble life that has no meaning and no value, and it's going to continue to grow. That was one of the major reasons why I hopped on TikTok. The first time I got on the platform, I was just scrolling through the For You page, which is stuff that is curated for you. And because I'm assuming they have data on whether or not you're a young woman, a young male, all that stuff, as soon as I logged in, video after video of girls saying, if you need a sign from the universe to start an OnlyFans account, look at my monthly income. And it's like $80,000 a month, making $2 million a year selling my body on the internet. Young ladies, if you need a sign to do this, do this. And they had this huge scandal of young girls below the age of 18 using fake IDs and getting on OnlyFans and selling their body to people just so they could make, thousands of dollars a month. And of course, as a young person seeing that, especially with the narrative of how expensive it is to live here, how you're never going to be able to buy a house, you see a girl making $80,000 a month, you're going to go, okay,
Right.
I will get naked for the internet for
Right.
$80,000 a month.
Right. And then imagine you're going to a job. Let's say you do this and you make, I don't know, let's say, we'll be generous, we'll say $20,000 a month, right? On an easy one. Say you make $20,000 a month on OnlyFans, and then you want to get your life back together.
Yep.
Oh, now you got to go get a job and you got to work at a desk and
Right.
and make half of that, or even less than half,
Yeah.
probably way less than
There's
half of that.
no
for some-
incentive.
Exactly. But men don't want you now because you've been on OnlyFans. Polling shows that if you ask men if they would date a model on OnlyFans, they say no, because if you're a woman and you're going to give it up to everyone, then a man doesn't want to date you because you already gave it to everyone else,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it has screwed up things in so many ways. This type of economy, and the fact that people don't realize it, and that the left and the mainstream pushes it so heavily, is upsetting. It's
Yep.
really upsetting because porn addiction and all of that is something that affects millions of people.
Yep.
And it's one of the leading causes of divorce. Like money and porn are some of the leading causes of divorce for people. It's really, it's upsetting to see.
And we're in the country with the highest consumption.
Right.
Highest consumption rate. So what happens with all that, I don't know. But where it especially affects me is when it starts to harm children. And we're at that point. And it's disgusting. So something needs to happen. What exactly that is, we'd have to discuss. Don't know what the solution is.
Suggestion from the comments. Vidal Nunez says we need to make a reverse OnlyFans where we pay people to keep their clothes on.
Listen, people already do that for me. Okay?
Let's sign Ethan Klein up for that.
Yeah. Listen, I'll meet people and they'll be like, please keep your clothes on. I will pay you. And you're like, fine. So I know.
Yeah, Will's been there, done that. That is a good one.
This beer belly is. Yeah.
I wish that was possible. I wish that was something that could be created and be successful. I have a feeling it's not.
I don't think so.
No. If I had to go out on a limb, I would say no.
No.
Next story here, guys. I'm sure a few of you listening right now are Harry Potter fans. You're a fan of the book or the movie franchise. Jon Stewart has come out. This makes me laugh. I don't know why. But Jon Stewart has come out and said that the goblins of Gringotts Bank in Harry Potter are anti-Semitic. Let's listen to him talk about it.
John, every time we talk, I've been to bar mitzvahs.
Have you been to bar mitzvahs?
I found the 2 Jewish people in Mississippi, and I befriended them.
I think it's a wise choice. What was a bar mitzvah in Mississippi? Just out of curiosity.
It was fun. A lot of fried food.
See, back in the day, before bar mitzvahs became a thing, you just did them in the back of the synagogue. You did your thing, you had to read from the Torah, and then everybody would have pound cake, and you go in the back room. But now, today, it's
Nicki Minaj goes to that.
It's a prom.
Now, it's not even a prom. It's more like a demonstration of Gatsby. It's basically like saying, the Jews have arrived, and we are going to dazzle you with the access.
The Jews have arrived. What chapter of Harry Potter is that in? That's one of. That's when they get to Gringotts, right?
Can I tell you something about
That is
Harry
a
Potter?
wild thing.
Here's how you know, and this is the whole thing, and you don't have to use this, but this is true. Here's how you know
Use it.
Jews are still where they are. Talking to people, what I say is, have you ever seen a Harry Potter movie? And people are all like, I love the Harry Potter movies. Like, you ever see the scenes in Gringotts Bank? And they're like, I love the scenes in Gringotts Bank. He's like, do you know what those folks that run the bank are? And they're like, what? And they're like, Jews.
And then
I remember.
And then that person says, no, goblins. And then you go,
And you're like,
you hear yourself?
Let me show you this from, it's the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I just want to show you a caricature. And they're like, oh, look at that. That's from Harry Potter. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
that's a caricature of a Jew from an anti-Semitic piece of literature. J.K. Rowling was like, can we get these guys to run our bank? And you're like,
And that's the bulk of the commentary there. Jon Stewart making the accusation, for the most part, that Harry Potter, because they have people who look similar to Jewish caricatures from anti-Semitic writings of the past, running a bank in Harry Potter, that she is anti-Semitic.
No,
Yeah.
it's like people saying J.R.R. Tolkien is racist and that orcs are black people.
Yeah.
It's the same type of argument. It's like, why are you looking at an orc and comparing it to a black person?
Yeah, huh? Why do you associate people who run banks with Jewish people,
that's what
Jon
I'm saying.
Stewart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like I wouldn't look at you and think you're an orc.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, listen, it's the least I can do. Taylor, on the other hand, sounds like orc mischief to me.
He looks pretty orcish.
Yeah, looks kind of orcish. But it's like you're the racist one for assuming that this is what it is because of how it looks like.
Yeah, and I think what it plays down to, and I before I get into the commentary on this, let's read this response from the Campaign Against Antisemitism. They put out a statement on this subject matter in particular. It says here, the portrayal of goblins in the Harry Potter series is of a piece with their portrayal in Western literature as a whole. It is the product of centuries of association of Jews with grotesque and malevolent creatures in folklore, as well as money and finance. The mythological associations have become so ingrained in the Western mind that their provenance no longer registers with creators or consumers. Those who continue to use such representations are often not thinking of Jews at all, but simply of how readers or viewers will imagine goblins to look, which is a testament more to centuries of Christendom's anti-Semitism than it is to malice by contemporary artists. So it is with J.K. Rowling, who has proven herself over recent years to be a tireless defender of the Jewish community in its fight against anti-Semitism, for which we are immensely grateful. So that's the statement that they put out. They are siding with J.K. Rowling on this, saying that she's not anti-Semitic in any way, shape, or form. And what this points to, again, I think is a disconnect from what people see to what intent is. And we saw this when we talked about Dave Chappelle and his comedy special, The Closer. He made a statement about men being men, women being women, talking about the transgender community, making jokes at their expense as well as his own expense and every other community or marginalized community you can think of at their expense as well. And then gave this, gushing love note to the transgender community about the fact that they're going through a human experience and being compassionate with them. But because he made the one statement that the gender is a binary thing, you throw everything out, he's a transphobe. Because she has portrayed these bankers in the movie as looking like a Jewish caricature of some sort, she's an anti-Semite.
Right. It doesn't take much research to know that her intent was not that.
Right.
Right? And also,
Right.
it's the people who made the movie, not necessarily J.K. Rowling,
Sure.
right? Unless
Sure.
I don't know.
Unless she describes it.
Yeah.
In the book. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't read those silly books. But
Me neither.
But if people really think that she is this anti-Semitic person, sure, you can think that, but it's so easy to just look at the intent. You're exactly right.
Yep.
Like, do you really think that she made these people because she wants people to go into Gringotts Bank and go hate Jews?
Yep. Right.
Of course not. You're being ridiculous. Of course, people don't hate Jews. No little kid watches that movie and said, "Look at those Jews in this bank."
Right.
They said, "Look at those goblins."
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I wonder if she's going to continue to see heat from this. It didn't seem like Jon Stewart was too angry about the association as he was talking about it, but I'm curious to see if this sparks another campaign against J.K. Rowling, because we already know she's been sought after for her comments, again, on gender being binary and talking about the transgender movement, and she's gotten heat from that. Is she going to be also labeled an anti-Semite now?
I'm just going to send this clip to Dennis Prager of the Gringotts Bank scene and see what he thinks.
Yeah. Have him talk
Say,
about it on the radio
what is your reaction
That'd
to
be really interesting.
to Gringotts Bank?
Sure.
No context, and just see what he says.
show. Okay. Maybe we'll do that. We'll update you guys on that.
Are you going to read the McRib tweet? Do you have it?
Oh, do I have it? No. You want to read it? Do you have it?
Okay. Well, yeah, someone on Twitter, this was actually a couple of days before this whole thing broke with Jon Stewart's podcast. Someone else criticized the name of an Irish character in Harry Potter named Seamus Finnegan. And they said, absolutely bat bleep, that they had one Irish character in Harry Potter and they just went with the name Seamus Finnegan. That's like calling an American character Huckleberry McRib.
I think that's so funny.
That is funny.
Huckleberry McRib.
Baseball Jones.
When I first read that, I was crying tears after reading that tweet. But yeah, it's not new for J.K. Rowling. Would you say the other name of the Cho Chang was the Asian
Which
character.
Cho is a last name in Korean, and Chang is a last name in Chinese.
So it's not new to just put on generalized stereotypes for her characters. All of the English characters have very basic, very English sounding names. So it's just not. I think this is like just a non-starter. Why are we talking about this?
The Asian is called Cho Chang.
Cho Chang.
Yeah, his girl love interest.
Who's
Cho
love
Chang.
interest?
Harry Potter's love interest in the Goblet of Fire is
I thought he was
Asian
with Jamie
character.
Weasley.
Ginny Weasley.
Ginny Weasley.
They get together later, but that's in the later movies. Come
Gosh,
on, Will.
catch up,
I say
Will.
movies because I only watch the movies. But
My goodness.
Yeah, I know. Only watched the movie. Cho Chang. I didn't. That's
Chai.
Cho Chang.
And she's got a really cool like British accent. I don't know what region, but it's like Scottish or something. It's weird.
Last story here, guys.
That was confusing.
Also an entertainment-based story here. Did Glee start the woke epidemic in America? For those of you who don't know, Glee is like a late 2000s, early 2010s drama show about a Glee club at a high school in Ohio, I believe, that starts, and you got all these different characters, gay characters, straight characters, black characters, Asian characters, whatever. And they all come together from different backgrounds and different ways of life to join this Glee club where they cover pop songs, Broadway, random stuff. And it was a very, very popular show up until its ending. Jack Pozo came out on Twitter to talk about Glee. And he wrote, "Here's the piece on Glee I was talking about on Timcast last night, where a big Tumblr user admitted that the term's problematic and the concept of representational equity come from the show's toxic fandom." And somebody tweeted in response, my younger sister was super into Glee. Now she's a raging leftist who shuts down any debate when she's losing. And Jack Pozo responded, and there it is.
Unequivocal proof.
Yeah.
Unequivocal proof.
No, Taylor was straight until he started watching Glee.
It's true.
A lot changes when you start watching Glee.
Jonathan Grady, then. Let me tell you.
I gotta say,
I've seen I'll tell you, I've
Yeah,
seen
tell
3
me.
episodes of Glee probably.
yeah.
Maybe less, and all like 10 years ago. And I can tell you that tweet is exactly right.
Oh my God.
I can tell you
This was
beyond
a genuine
shadow of a
debate
doubt.
that happened earlier today when Amala came across this
A
tweet.
genuine
and
debate.
Will and Amala started getting into it. So
Yeah.
Glee's a
here we
good.
go.
I like the show Glee. I watched
you
the
would.
show Glee. I'm not a raging leftist, so there's evidence to the contrary. I just
Okay,
negated.
but you were a raging leftist when you got
Yeah,
into
that's
the
what
show.
I'm saying.
But I've been out of raging leftism and also continued to watch Glee.
Now she's a soothing leftist.
That's the power of legacy media.
Now I'm simply a
It has a
calm.
legacy.
I'm a Zen leftist now. But no, I've still watched Glee. I still think it's good.
Glee is full of garbage. I think exactly what he was saying. Also, men shouldn't watch Glee in the first place. Okay, that's a woman's show.
It is
But-
kind of a woman's show.
Yeah,
It's a very feminine show to watch.
Yeah, listen, if you're a man and watch Glee with your family, do your thing. But you
Questionable.
shouldn't- no, that's okay. Your
It's
family
fine.
watches it. But
Yeah.
I hope you're not like spending your weekends going and binge watching Glee.
Right, like
Just
I really gotta
Enjoy
see.
it with your soy crisps.
Yeah, exactly. Your crispy soy.
and your glass of soy milk.
Yeah, exactly. And your OnlyFans.
Oh, tragic.
No, but I think what he does say is right when he says, listen, it is a way to get all of these different people who, in a real sense, looking at numbers statistically, would not actually be in a place together because there's just too many different race and gender and ideology, and you're putting them together so that everybody has this equal representation. Which, if you were to look at a real high school, it'd be like, this isn't a real high school.
You would, but I think that's with every single show that you watch. And what Glee does,
Because
I
of
think
Glee.
no,
Because of Glee.
not because of
Now
Glee.
you just answered the question.
No, it's something that predates Glee. It definitely predates the show Glee.
Give me a show
And
where
what
it
is
doesn't
also
predates
interesting
Glee.
about what's the show that you were watching, Taylor? Dawson's Creek or something?
I'm watching that with my wife.
He had to say, "I'm watching it with my wife." He had to say that. But
It's millennial
Soy
nostalgia,
crisp.
okay?
it's always been a thing to follow the quirky kids in high school who come together of this unlikely bunch. Friends is like that. The Office is like that. It's an unlikely bunch of people who come
No,
together.
but Friends, everyone's white.
But what? Either way.
No,
it
I'm saying
doesn't.
that's the point that he's making.
But
is
what-
that it's like bringing all these people together that statistically speaking, if you were to look at an average high school,
Mm-hmm.
these types of groups of people would just not be at those quantities of people looking at demographics from an America.
But I don't think that's true at all. Glee is a
Maybe
mainly
it's a
white
San
cast.
Francisco high school.
Glee is a mainly white cast with a few actors of color. That is what Glee is, and a lot of them break out of different ideas and things. It has nothing to do with representation quantitative equity.
Listen, I don't know all the
I don't know.
races of everyone in Glee.
I do.
I bet you do. That's because you're a raging leftist.
Oh my gosh.
But all I know is a terrible show.
I'm
and
coming
that the
back.
teacher, all I know is
Things
that the
were
teacher,
better before Glee existed. I can say that with certainty.
if Glee never existed, China would have never unleashed this on us.
TikTok would have never.
TikTok would have never happened because then people don't want to sing.
It was the gateway
Listen,
drug.
it's literally
It's all coming together.
It's literally because of Glee that we have TikTok destroying America.
That is so ridiculous. Guys, I think I'm done here.
I'm not done. This is
I'm gonna quit and go produce Glee 2.0. I'm here in LA. This is the best place to be to do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is my next endeavor.
Listen, you do have a beautiful voice, but you don't have to
Thank
get
you.
all of these people. You don't need to have you, me, Cho Chang, and all these other people.
James
that
O'Keefe
do-
did a play. You could link up with him.
Yeah, you could link up with James O'Keefe.
You guys could do a conservative
Yep,
Glee.
I could do that.
You could. I was just texting
I
him
absolutely
earlier
could.
today.
You know what? Tangential note here. I watched Matrix Resurrection, or at least started watching Matrix
was- why
Resurrection.
Did you even watch the other ones?
I've seen the first one. I haven't seen the second one. I wanted to see the beginning of the last one just to see if it was super woke. And I kid you not, every single race that could possibly be represented in a way that breaks the stereotype of that race appeared in the first 10 minutes. It was like amazing how many different diversity points they got for making this movie. It's
Hello?
fantastic. Hi.
who's this?
Yes.
Oh, it's Glee. They want their intersectionality back. Talking to the Matrix. I kind of butchered that, but you know what I said.
Thank you, Will. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah.
So did they portray Jewish people as not goblins?
I'm assuming. I'm going to go ahead and assume that they did not do that. But there was like the quirky Indian guy. There was the super rad, badass Asian girl. There was the Hispanic also
The
there.
Asian who's not really smart.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was. Yeah, the
I gotta
Asian
get
who's
my
not
test
really
scores
smart.
up.
The Asian who sucks at
fail.
math was there.
Everyone's favorite stereotype.
Yeah. So, The Matrix, a lot of diversity points. As far as cinematic points and writing, not a lot. Not a lot. I'm going to go
heard
ahead.
from everyone that movie was terrible.
I didn't get through 30 minutes of it.
No good movies have come out since Glee. Really.
Were you watching it? There's been nothing
Glee-
good since
Glee ruined Hollywood.
Once Glee happened, everything went down.
When was Glee? Like 2012 to 2010s?
Let me
it's
do-
gotta be before that.
I could do some
Before that?
research here.
Yeah, like 2008, right?
Because to me, the woke stuff really like,
I want to know in the comments if you guys watched Glee.
2009.
yeah, it really
That's when
set
TikTok
in like
by Kesha
early
came out.
2010s.
If you're in the comments right now and you've watched Glee, I want to know what you think about it in the comments. Tell me.
Right. You
know,
either love it or you hate it.
did it turn your kid
Oh, I
into
should
a
do a
leftist?
poll.
Yeah. I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to go home, watch an episode of Glee tonight, and come back tomorrow with my hair dyed blue
Yeah.
and just screaming at Will about how he's a fascist Nazi.
Did it make your son no longer want to play football and go and be on the Glee Club?
Right.
Because that's a big deal.
I don't want to play football, Dad. I want to dance.
I want to dance, Dad.
Beautiful voice.
Yeah. Shut up, kid.
Stellar.
Oh, I know.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
One more story here before we get into our interview with the Prager Force member who won the 12 Days of Christmas giveaway and got a chance to appear on Will and Amala Live. Brittany
My mom just said,
Valadez.
Cookie and Maddie watch Glee. You're
Look
talking
at
about
that.
my family.
Yeah. See, some very important people in Will's life watch Glee and like Glee.
He calls his grandma Cookie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is your grandma a raging leftist, huh, Will?
She's a goblin.
She's over there in Green Guts Bank.
Yeah, exactly. Counting our money.
So there you go.
I just made
more
a poll
evidence.
on the YouTube chat. So
What
you
is the
guys-
question?
Glee, awful for society or a good show?
That's really two polarizing answers.
Yeah.
What about indifference or
No, you choose.
Yeah, you don't get to. There's no easy way out.
The only people
no
who
fence
wouldn't
sitting.
choose the answer are the people who watch Glee.
Wow.
86% awful for society so far.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh, you guys are coming for my throat here. Anyways, it doesn't matter because in the new world order that we're all going to transition to, we won't even have to see each other anymore because we will be living in virtual reality America. Here is something that was put out in regard to the Metaverse and their plans for how you get to shop for your groceries in the future.
Great. Looks like you need a good wine pairing. Take a look to your right. Your age has already been pre-verified through your profile. So no need to wait
so
for an
glad.
ID check.
I was worried
Just
about
place
that.
the item in your cart
My
whenever
fake
you're
ID
ready.
worked.
A $5 Voodoo coupon on that too.
Voodoo, the streaming service, which
Yeah.
is insane. So now the store is
I'm getting
transitioning.
a notification from your connected smart fridge. It looks like you already have a full gallon of milk at home.
Why do you need
Should
an
we put this one
elevator
back?
if it's like a virtual store?
Because it's supposed to be cool, Taylor.
It's not cool to like do monotonous things.
Is
in
it
a
cool if I go to
virtual
the
world.
VR store and it's just like the regular Walmart? No, of course
No,
not.
you should cut out all the
You don't-
boring stuff about waiting and
You don't get it. It's way cooler being
It's like,
in the
I love sitting in
Metaverse.
traffic in the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Why do we need this?
I love sitting in traffic in the metaverse.
I know. You still have to go home and have your woman nag you about cleaning.
Oh my
Go-
gosh.
Go to the
Oh.
gym for an hour and sit on a treadmill in the metaverse.
Exactly. You know, sitting. No, you're. It's gonna be so meta. It's gonna be the metaverse. where
Do
you're
my
bored
homework
of your
in the
metaverse
metaverse.
life.
I'm
yeah.
so
for meta
meta.
school.
No, but it's gonna be like you're gonna be in there and you're gonna be about to get that thing of wine. And it's gonna say, actually, your vaccination status has ran out.
Oh
You
no.
cannot buy this until. Would you like to schedule a booster appointment? That's like what is going to happen.
A booster through your COVID port that's
Right.
attached to your arm already.
Uh-huh.
No, it's amazing.
Like
Get a meta jab.
Like 3 tubes, just like all
God.
With your Neuralink.
Dude,
Okay,
seriously.
have you guys seen Ready Player One?
Yeah.
No.
The movie wasn't very good.
But the premise of it and the sort of background and the world building around it is really interesting because it's just this VR world that everybody lives in while the rest of the world and society outside of that virtual reality has deteriorated. And it seems like that's exactly what we're looking at. And I think there's a lot of small details to be thinking about of what we just watched, even in that 40 seconds we just watched. They went to buy wine. Your
You can't even
government
drink the wine.
Well,
Sorry.
I'm sure it's going to be delivered to you. Like, I'm sure this.
Oh, is that what it is?
I'm sure this is a delivery service of some sort. So you get into your VR reality. You go to Walmart. You buy this wine. Your government ID is already attached through the system. Plus, you get coupons not from Walmart the store, but from the streaming services that you will also use through your VR. And then this guy goes to grab milk, and the lady goes, We're detecting from your fridge technology that you already have a gallon of milk in the fridge. Would you like to purchase another? So your entire life is just going to be hooked into the system.
Right. Thank you for visiting the Amazon, Chevy, Pepsi,
Right.
Johnson & Johnson store.
Yes.
What would you like
That's
to buy
exactly
today?
right.
Does she scold you if your virtual mask falls below your nose while you're walking through the store?
Exactly. You are not virtually complying.
Your AT&T,
Yeah.
Domino's,
Yeah.
Pfizer.
Yeah.
By the way, it's like, I
Decreased
already,
dopamine incision.
Oh,
we already
gosh.
have Amazon Fresh, by the way. You can literally just shop on your browser and get stuff delivered to you.
But no, we want to
Maybe you
do it
wanna
through
see it. I
VR.
don't want- That's the worst part is walking through the. Do you have to
Of
like virtually
course.
park too?
Yeah.
Oh, this other guy stole your virtual spot.
No,
Before
I'm
you
gonna
got
have to
there.
virtually have some lady there who's just going to buy chips, yell at me for not having my mask on.
Yeah, it's just like
If it's cold
terrifying,
outside,
man.
does like your fan blow on you extra hard?
It's just terrifying that this is going to be the reality here because look at what we're looking at, and especially with now people being incentivized to work from home and the great resignation, and people are just going to be plugged in all the time. Your work is going to be attached to your computer. Your entertainment's attached to your computer. Your shopping is attached to this virtual reality. Your socialization is attached to that. Can't be good.
Do you guys
Can't
have
be good.
those like Amazon Alexa or Google Home stuff at all?
No, absolutely not.
I'm like super against those.
I have
Super.
an Alexa, but it's not plugged in.
Yeah.
So
It's, like,
good
it's kind
thing.
of like your phone's probably listening to you anyway, but yeah.
Dude, TikTok,
definitely
if you have
is.
TikTok downloaded on your phone, TikTok, again, going back to TikTok, but TikTok literally goes through everything
Yeah.
that you do on your phone.
Yep.
It goes your search history on Safari.
Yep.
I mean, what you text, it's like it knows everything about you.
Right
If you're a
over to
VPN
the
and you want to sponsor Will
CCP.
Amala Live, let us know.
Yeah,
Heck
please.
yeah,
NordVPN.
ExpressVPN, NordVPN, where you guys at?
Atlas VPN, please.
We'll take any of your sponsorships. But yeah, the CCP gets all of your information. I hope you guys are happy with it.
I was
But
at
at least I have followers on TikTok, right?
over the holidays, we were at my brother-in-law's house, and I was walking to go turn off the lights, and my wife had stayed there before, and she was like, "Alexa, turn off the lights," and then it turned off the lights, and I turned around, and I was like, "Why didn't you tell me that thing was listening to me this whole time. And I kid you not, it goes, actually, I have not been listening to you. I only listen on blah, 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 blah. Like, I was like, it heard me say, why is this thing listening to me? And then it like corrected me. I was like, I'm about to go Ron Swanson on this thing and like throw it in the garbage and beat it with a baseball.
As you should. We're going to become a bunch of Luddites. This is like crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. The Amish are onto something.
I didn't hear you cheating on your husband unless you give me $2,000.
Man, the Amish are really onto something. Not dentistry, but something. Something.
Alexa, turn off the lights.
If you are vaccinated, I will turn them off.
Yes, I will follow command.
That's like the new society.
Have you gotten your new jab yet?
I know.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh. Anyways, guys, like I said, in December, we did a 12 Days of Christmas giveaway where the winner out of Prager Force got to be on the show, on Will and Amala Live, for a live interview. Here is that interview with our Prager Force member. Guys, special guest on the show today. Back in December, you might remember we did a 12 Days of Christmas giveaway where the winner was going to appear on Will and Amala Live. Now, that winner is a Prager Force member by the name of Brittany Valadez. Brittany, welcome on the show.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
No, we're super excited to have you. So for the audience who is seeing you for the first time right now, who are you, Brittany? Where are you from? And how did you get connected to Prager Force?
Well, I'm from Texas. I'm back home in Texas. I am actually an entertainment journalist and a Christian apologist. I used to live in LA, and I went to Biola, got a degree in apologetics while working as an entertainment journalist. It's like you're working in sin, but going to school to get holy. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But after being in LA, I eventually moved back to Texas, and I hear you guys that it's a lot better in Texas than it is in California. So how I got involved in Prager Force. So I think it was my parents that actually introduced me to PragerU. And then, Will, I liked your videos. They were really funny. And I would binge watch all of them because I would see you interviewing people on the streets. And I was like, those people are literally outside my apartment. Like I used to live in Hollywood. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that person. Wow. And then it also made me think, maybe I should probably learn more about American history, my beliefs even more, and not only politics, but also my faith. So that is what actually led me into PragerU. And then with PragerU, I heard about Prager Force, and I said, okay, this I have to be a part of. And, fast forward to today, and here we are.
The people in my videos, they're everywhere, Brittany. As even in Texas, they are everywhere. And so that's cool, though, that you said that you watched those types of videos, and you said, I don't want to end up like one of them, getting interviewed and not knowing my stuff. I am going to be someone to go and do the research so that if someone ever asks me these questions, I can retort back or have the right information. So that's really cool. And so you're saying that you use PragerU for a lot of that information.
Yes, and actually, what I saw in you and what you guys do there is coming from a journalism perspective. I said, wait, there's a lot of times we're interviewing people, and I would look at them and I would actually feel sorry for them because I know what it's like to ask people questions and they're put on the spot and not to be ready with the answers. And funny enough, in apologetics, what I graduated with in the master's degree recently is I always need to be ready with the answers. Now, I'm not God. I'm not going to have every answer. But a lot of times for me being Christian, people would ask, oh, why do you believe that Christianity is right? There's so many other religions out there. How do you know all these questions? And like those college kids or random people in the streets that you interviewed, I'd be like, well, if I feel it's right, I know it in my heart, but I can't tell you. And if we learn anything, relying on our feelings gets us nowhere. Feelings, facts over feelings, like Ben Shapiro says, it also applies to Christianity and religion and faith.
That's amazing. So you are obviously a very active member in Prager Force, hence why you're on the show right now. What is the most important pressing issue for you right now that keeps you motivated, that keeps you so active in Prager Force?
Well, I think, so there's plenty of issues out there that are like social issues or faith issues or anything, big tech, all those issues that are super important. But what keeps me wanting to pursue more, and even with my website, I do have a website, bravelydaily.com, and I think I did some articles on you guys. I know I did on my website. Because I look at it as we are in this world where information is thrown at us. We have so much information overload. but it doesn't mean all the information is true. So if we're getting all this information and the other side is throwing so much stuff, and it's not just on the internet, it's in schools, it's in teachers, it's at work, it's everything. Where's the conservative voice? Where is the Christian voice? Where it's being overshadowed? So I'm like I know there'd be times at night where I would wake up and I'd feel like the Lord telling me, Brittany, every day people are dying, and I'm sorry, there's a hell and people are going there. What are you doing? If you say you're a Christian and you're not spreading the gospel, you're not spreading the truth, whether that's also, it's obviously in faith, and then it goes to politics as well. What are you doing? And if you have a platform and you're just sitting there, what are you doing?
Yeah, if you have the ability to speak, then you should go out and speak it 100%. If you have the ability to be that person spreading the truth and sharing facts with people, you essentially have a responsibility to do it. You cannot waste that potential. And so the fact that you're doing that is really incredible. How does your faith play into your politics and the things that you believe in?
Well, I look at the Bible and I'm like, hey, this is true. And I obviously know that it's true. I mean, there was a time, like I said, where I felt it, but I didn't know it. So,
have you always been a Christian?
Yes, since I was born and raised. Born and raised a Christian. And then there was a time where I had doubts. Like I knew I wasn't going to leave the faith. I wasn't, that far. And I understand people do get that far. But I did have doubts. And it was actually when I was in Hollywood that I started having doubts. And one of my assignments was to interview the cast of God's Not Dead 2. And in that movie, they actually had these people on there called apologists that I'd never heard of. And unfortunately, they don't teach a lot of apologetics, at least when I was growing up in the church. We were having pizza parties and cool stuff like that and how to feel great. But no one was teaching us what the Bible said was true. So in this movie, I was like, wow, I can actually research. You mean I can use evidence outside of the Bible and logic and reason to prove that it's true? I thought it was just something we believed. And so after that, knowing that the Bible is true, that even cross over into my career, because I'm a journalist, I want to present the truth, and I should want to present the truth. And unfortunately, journalism is tainted a lot nowadays because, if you are going to be a major news corporation and you're not writing an opinion piece or a fluff piece, you should be presenting the truth. Like just completely fact, just fact. But if you're, I'm not saying you need to lie when you are an entertainment journalist or anything. No, but you can give more of your opinion on there. Well, here's the facts, but I think it like this. Unfortunately, it's crossed over into media, into mainstream, like hard news, where it's a lot of facts and a lot of opinion instead of facts. And so my faith played an important part in how I looked at truth and needing the evidence of it. And then obviously it crossed over into my career in journalism. And I'm like, God, I didn't see what you were going to do. Because to be honest, when I got my undergrad degree in journalism, I was done with school. Like I was good at school. I cared about school, but I was done. So to go back and re-enroll and get another degree, it literally was God, because I was done.
Well, that's amazing. Brittany, there are a lot of people out there who are going to see you and go, wow, this is a really vocal person. I wish I was more like that. What is one piece of advice you could give to young women like yourself who are scared to speak up about what they believe?
Piece of advice, research the truth, because once you know the truth, you're going to want to do anything you can to share it, because there were certain topics that I was terrified to talk about, terrified. And I'd be scared, and there'd be times where I'd pray and I'm like, Lord, I can't speak about this. But the more, and sometimes I would avoid certain topics because I was scared of what it was going to do inside me, and I just didn't want to touch it. But the minute that I faced the truth and I started knowing the truth, it became easy to speak it and I wanted to share it. Because I think it was Kirk Cameron that said, if you have a cure for cancer, wouldn't you share it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely right. Brittany, how can people support you? And thank you so much for being on our show today.
Okay, thank you guys so much for having me. I love the fact that you all are so vocal yourself and hilarious. Literally hilarious. I'm sorry, the dry sense of humor gets me all the time. Love it. All right, if you guys want to find me, you can go to my website, bravelydaily.com, and I am on, of course, all the social medias and Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of that. It's pretty much at Brittany Valadez. Some of it is different, but I'm pretty sure you guys will list any of that. But just go to my website, bravedaily.com, and connect with me there. And we have a lot of new things coming. So I'm so excited that I've been able to have this chat with you guys here, for just even letting me hang out with you. I feel so cool.
Thank you so much.
Brittany,
it's so exciting to have you
Brittany,
on.
you are a superstar. You're on fire. Everyone who's watching this, make sure you go check out our site, check out our social media. We have to support these voices. We have to support the voices of people who are fighting the good fight so that we can continue to elevate what we are pushing for. Thank you so much, Brittany.
Thanks, Will. And Will, one more thing. I hope one day I actually do a lot of mission work. So I don't know if you've never been on a mission trip, ever been on one, but you should go. You should go on a mission trip to Honduras, and then you can do a PragerU story because they're always, with the border and everything. So there you go.
I have never been on a mission trip, and I've never been to Honduras, but, never say never. Taylor said that he's been to Honduras on a mission trip. He lived there.
Really? I like Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor's a great guy. Taylor's
Everybody
done a
likes
lot
Taylor.
more than I've done.
You guys are awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. I'll let you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brittany.
All right, bye.
What a fantastic girl. And like I said, Brittany is a member of Prager Force. So if you're a young person watching right now in high school, college, or a young professional below the age of 35, and you're looking to join a digital community of like-minded people, go to pragerforce.com and sign yourself up. You can network with people, make friends, start working on PragerU content through Prager Force. There's just endless possibilities if you join at pragerforce.com. And that's our show today. We talked about a lot of really, really hot topics. We'll keep you guys posted on what happens with Novak Djokovic, with Novax Djokovic. And we'll let you know if we have any other breaking stories. We'll cover them throughout the week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single day when we go live, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. And if you'd like to listen to our podcast throughout the week, go to Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts. Follow, leave us a 5-star review. Let us all know how much you love Will and Amala live. Leave a comment down below. Do you like Glee? Do you hate Glee? Do you think Glee is the cause of the woke epidemic here in America? Will say yes. I would say no. Taylor is seemingly indifferent.
Yeah, I don't know.
I better not see any of you guys comment.
Drop it down in the comments below, guys, and we will see you tomorrow at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. Bye, guys.